I am Gloria Osuma, welcoming you to the show. I have with me in the studio today a very handsome man from what I can see, but he's going to tell us more. I'm looking at the container. He's going to tell us what's the content of this beautiful or loving container. Please let's know you and what you represent in Edo State.
Thank you, Gloria. It's a pleasure. I'll take that as a compliment. You want to know me? I'll tell you who I am. My name is Osadebey Izedonmwen. I'm a son of teachers, a citizen of Edo State. So I grew up in Benin City. I was born in a place called Iyaro, just by the moat. I went to nursery school and primary school, Fabi Yapata, the old St. Peter's Anglican Primary School. And then I went to Edo College on the hill, Murtala Mohammed Way. I finished there and I went to University of Benin, where I studied petroleum engineering. So all my education is in Benin City.
Okay.
So in essence, I was born, raised in Edo State. Thereafter, I moved to Lagos, where I worked for some years. Of course, I'm an engineer, so I worked in an engineering firm in the oil and gas services sector. Then I moved abroad to study, to do a postgrad. Finished there and I got a job in the UK. I worked with a multinational oil and gas service company called Subsea 7. I worked with them for just shy of 15 years. And then I was seconded to Lagos to support the business team in Lagos. Their subsidiary is Nigerstar 7. And then about a year or so afterwards, I moved up to become the managing director. So I was running that business before I decided to leave private service or private sector and throw my hat in this race to do some service to our people.
Okay.
That's me in a nutshell.
All right. So as we prepare, as we move on the road to Osadebey Avenue and who occupies Osadebey House, what are the qualities we should expect from the person, that individual that will occupy Osadebey House as the governor of Edo State?
So that's a very interesting one. So qualities are very clear. Number one, the leader needs to be prepared. Very well prepared. He needs to understand the how. He needs to be versed in what I'll call the political economy of the state. That's on the technical side. On the soft side, it needs to be a leader who's compassionate, who has a listening ear, who also has a good understanding of the history of the state and how to transform the current situation into a prosperous state. But apart from that, you also need a leader who can mobilize people and resources towards a common goal. So by that I mean a transformational leader. I think if you have all these key qualities, of course, with leadership comes communication. So a leader who can communicate clearly what the vision is and can mobilize people towards that vision and leave a legacy for the kids yet unborn, for the generations yet unborn. So for me, that would be the key priorities. You have a good understanding of the political economy of the state, you are very well prepared, you can communicate your plans, and you can mobilize resources and people towards that goal, but also you have a good understanding of the history, particularly the economic history of the state.
Okay. We're talking about the qualities as you have outlined them. I picked one of them, that's communicating with the people. Are there no people who cannot really express themselves, they cannot express the ideas that they have, but practically they can do well?
I take a different view. I beg to disagree. It is Marcus Garvey in the early 19th century that said, if a leader cannot communicate, it's almost as if the leader doesn't exist. One of the fundamental principles or fundamental attributes of a productive leader or efficient leader is communication. Okay. Because be it in a boardroom, be it in the family circle, in government, you must be able to articulate your vision and then communicate it in as clear a way as to be able to mobilize people's thinking, mind, almost a call to action. So communication is very vital. Very clear communication is key to leadership, I would say.
All right, some persons are of the view, because considering, if we want to look at who should take over from a particular person or an administrator in whatever sector, whatever sphere, we should look out for somebody that can do more than the predecessor. That means the successor should be able to do more than the predecessor. Would you say that Governor Obaseki has done so well in this administration, and who should that be that should take over from him?
I'll take it. You have two questions there. So clearly, who the person should be is me, and I'll explain why. But before I explain why, let me take the vexed issue of whether Governor Obaseki has done well or not. So I'll be very honest, because I think we should have a balance. I don't come from the political school of thought that thinks you must criticize everything. That belongs to the past. You must be pragmatic and eclectic. I practice eclectic pragmatism as my school of thought in terms of the kind of politics I play. To the question, Governor Obaseki has done well in some areas. When I look at our economic history and political economy, I see where things were, the arrested development that we've had, and where things are. So, and I can see clearly where there is mass room for improvement. Okay. So I tell you something that he's done well. Okay. The internal generated revenue that he made was just shy of ₦1 billion a month, 900 and something million naira. He's moved it to about 6 billion. So he's been able to mobilize IGRO to a certain amount, and of course he's using that to impact lives. Now the question is, how was that done? Would I do it the same way? Probably not. Has the IGRO been raised to a very important number, almost 6 times? Absolutely yes. So I give kudos to him for doing that, because the more IGRO you can get, the more impact you can have. However, if I go into other areas, I can see some weaknesses. I would say, okay, if I were to become governor today, how do we manage the debt burden that we find ourselves today? I will be looking clearly at ways to A, grow the economic pie, increase the size of the economy, so that massive size of the economy will make the debt burden pale in comparison to the economy. So the debt becomes smaller because the economy is more productive. So I want to mobilize resources to grow that economy. That's one. Two is, there's such a limit to how much you get every month. You can have all these big dreams, but where's the money? Okay. So what we need to do is look back at the debt burden. How do we restructure this debt? How do we re-engage with our debtors to look at the tenure of this debt in such a way, as I've said earlier, that we can create some fiscal space. By fiscal space, I mean headroom for either more investment or to be able to borrow for the useful things that we need to do. So that's one. The other thing I would say that they have not done so well in this government is, when you look at how we borrow, we always borrow with what I call sovereign guarantee from Abuja to sign off on the dollar borrowing. So my view is, if we're going to borrow $100 million, for example, I think the last time I checked, this government has raised our dollar borrowing to about 180 something US dollars. And then the government before it, about 130 something million US dollars. Now, if I'm going to borrow such million US dollars, the number one thing I want to do is to invest in businesses or things, apart from the infrastructural things, which is for a common good. I would invest in certain things that would produce the dollars to pay down that debt, such that in 5-10 years, if I borrow at 300 to the dollar and the dollar moves against me in 5-10 years, I will be earning dollars quickly to be able to pay my dollar debt. But what you see is people, no, it's not just unique to Edo State, across the federation, they borrow dollars and they use that dollars to spend heavily, almost all of it, on naira spending, but there is no investment in the things that will bring in dollars. By that I mean export, and to create that effect of dollars coming into our economy, so that you can pay down your dollar debt quickly, and then you are free of that debt, and then you can have more fiscal space to do the kind of things our people need.
All right. So, one of the things now that hampers exports is the insecurity issue that has, bedeviled our society, virtually every area of Nigeria. Although some states have been able to put theirs under control. So how do you think we can? I know there's insecurity almost everywhere. But how can it be minimized?
Oh, that's in fact, if you look at our agenda, it's called the RAISE agenda. It's in my manifesto. It's clear. It's called RAISE, Rural Revitalization for R, Agriculture for A, Industrialization for I, another I for Infrastructure, S for Security, and E for Excellence. Back to the S. It is the numero uno, as the Italians say. It's the number one thing we need to fix in Edo State. Why do I say that? Without a secure environment, people, number one, can go back to farm, can live in a safe place, they can apply their trade with peace of mind. Secondly, businesses will look at the state and they will turn around and run away because it's not conducive for business. So we have to tackle, according to my plan, head-on security. To your question, how do we do it? It's quite simple. I'm willing to borrow money to take on security because I've seen it work in some other states in the southwest, specifically Edo State, where their GDP, the IGR was about 2 billion-ish, and then they put this security fund in place and were able to address the rampaging robbers like Rambo and the others, and they brought down insecurity to a manageable level, such that investors from the Niger Delta oil companies all moved to Lagos, and that ballooned the IGR. I live in Lagos most of the time, and I go out at night, it's peace. So we want to make Edo State an oasis of peace in the Niger Delta. How do we intend to do that? We're going to employ technology. I kind of subscribe to the idea the current governor has done in terms of the vigilante
security.
Yeah, but I will make them more responsive, and I'll create, because impression do matter, I'll create an impression that they are serving the people and give them the necessary security gadgets. For example, I know today that you can get some smart drones with thermal imaging cameras that can go to these problem areas in the forest, fly over those areas, and even if there is a chicken in the bush, the body heat of that chicken will give away these bad guys. We would study their movement, understand their pattern, and smoke them out of the bush. And that's why we want to create a special squad called the Farm Rangers, empowered by us, working with the police force, giving them the necessary insurance, the ballistic equipment that they can wear, even night vision goggles. Security is a sensitive issue, so I don't want to go into too much details, but we will employ technology, including CCTV. I want to pepper Benin City. I want to pepper some of our highways, some of our main clusters of habitation with CCTVs, such that if a flyer moves across a critical expressway, we will see it. And we'll take on these guys. We'll get this team of special squads to go into the bush and smoke them out. So there's a lot we can do with technology. I've seen it in China, where even my estate in Lagos now, there is facial recognition. So when we get a criminal arrested, we'll take the face ID, store it in a database. If our CCTV sees this guy in Auchi, in 2 weeks' time, there will be an alarm to the police station. So there's a lot of clever things we can do. And that's why we come with this idea that security must be tackled head on, especially because today the technology is here. So we just need to invest, and we'll bring in specialists, be it from Israel, from Pakistan, anywhere, because it's a crisis we're in. We need to use Edo State as an example to the rest of Nigeria that a state can be pacified. Because without pacifying Edo State, there's no prosperity, there's no investment, there's no peace of mind. Because if we have that kind of peace of mind, we can then go into agriculture and investment. So that's what I would do in a nutshell.
Okay. All right. Let's look at an unwritten agreement by political parties when it comes to fairness, equity, talking about zoning, power to, different zones in the state, rotating power amongst them. What's your opinion about that?
I think that's a trick by political parties and the political elites in some parties, most of them. You see, turn by turn doesn't build a nation. Go to America, Alexander Hamilton and the others, the UK, Germany, Japan, anyway. Patriots and statesmen build a nation. For me, I don't care the color of the cat. I don't care the color of the cat as long as it catches rats. And I admonish Edo citizens to think of it that way. All these agendas here, agendas there, it's personal agenda or party agenda.
But do you think if you look at it, is it fair if power is concentrated solely in one particular area? Is it fair?
Well, I'm not a big fan of using that to hoodwink people. I hear what you're saying about fairness, but what I think is fair is for the Edo State people to get the best man on the job. Because we are in a crisis, we are in a developmental state. We need people who are prepared, who are hungry for development. Let me ask a question. General Samuel Bermudia ruled the state for less than 9 years. Where is it from? Transformation peppered Bendel State all the way from Sapele to Auchi. He brought in University of Benin. He brought in Auchi Polytechnic, which by the way was a replica of an institution in Canada. He brought in farms, cattle farms. He brought in Ethiop Publishing, Ethiop Salt, Okbila Cement Factory, Bendel Fuels and Flour Mill, Bendel Breweries. He industrialized the state in a short few years. But the lot of the guys who have come since then, they've deindustrialized us. So I don't care the color of the cat. I am passionate about, can the cat catch rat? And this is what everybody should concern themselves about. The last time I checked, by the way, if you want to go into the agenda, because people are trying to sell some kind of ASA agenda. I have mixed connection on both sides. But the last time I checked, there's no difference between the ASA people and the Benin people. We are the same people. So we have seen what turn by turn can do to a country. It is happening now in Abuja. Look at the crisis. 29th of May last year, I bought petrol for a little above 100 naira. How much is it today? I bought it today 1,250 in this country because of turn by turn. Look at the disaster. So my people and people at home should understand this. Turn by turn is a lie. It is not the way we should be thinking, especially for a developing country that needs a rapid industrialization, a rapid improvement in our economy. We want the best guy on the job. The best food should come forward. If you were
from ASAM, would you think that way?
Absolutely. My grandmother has some connection with Ebele in ASAM land. ASAM blood flows in my vein. I don't care the tribe. I'm a completely detribalized Edo citizen. Just like General Samuel Bermudia, just like Professor Ambusali. Professor Ambusali gave me free education. Go to Lagos, you see all these guys in the bank, owners of banks, brilliant people. All are beneficiaries of Professor Ambusali. Did he care if I was from Benin City or not? That's a patriot. That's why when I get into government, I want to immortalize these two gentlemen because these are people who are completely detribalized.
And somehow it's been different for some time. You see, most of them when they come into power, they focus on their areas mainly, and they do little or less for some other parts.
It's a function of bad governance. I just gave you an example of brilliant leaders that I want to immortalize. Did Bermudia focus on his area? Did Ambusali focus on his area? Where's Professor Ambusali's house after he was dead? Nothing. It's about service. So the people that always play this zoning or tribal card are not the great leaders. I beg to disagree. They are not the great leaders that we want. People that can transform this state are the detribalized people who know the how. When people are short of ideas of how to transform this state, they start playing that game. Usually, if you read between the lines, they are using that to win cause to cover their tracks. So I beg to disagree.
All right.
By turn doesn't do the country.
Okay, that's your opinion. The program is go to Osadebey. We'll take a break now. We'll come back to talk some more.
Transformation don't come on. Everybody votes for the party we're ready to make it do better. ADC not the party, oh. Everybody votes for the party we're ready to make it do better. Edo State and the man, oh. Everybody votes for the party we're ready to make it.
Like Brigadier Bermudia and Professor Ali of old, who had passion and zeal to rebuild Edo State, comes a young man in that same mode, but with youthful vigor and transformative ideas to rebuild Edo State, transformed in agriculture, education, industrialization, economic empowerment. With Engineer Osayan Derek Izedonmwen as governor and Philippine Monichi Osagi as deputy governor, African Democratic Congress Edo State can be a state that works for all.
Derek Osayan and the man, oh. Everybody votes for the party we're ready to make it do better.
Vote Engineer Osayan Derek Izedonmwen as governor. Vote ADC, the party with the handshake sign.
I am Osayan Derek Izedonmwen, and I approve this message.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for staying. It's Road to Osadebey Avenue, Edo 2024. I have Osayan Derek Izedonmwen in the studio, and he's preparing for that road to Osadebey. And there's so much attention in the air right now. A few days to the governorship election, and this owes to the fear of the federalites and the power at the center that may have influence on the election in Edo State. Do you believe in that federalite?
Yes, I think there's something like that because of the kind of country we find ourselves. But I don't want to be in that school of thought that we amplify it beyond proportion. Okay, so we need to be very careful on how we about the rhetoric we put out there. We are leaders, we are political leaders. We need to tone the rhetoric and don't overplay things beyond proportion. Yes, there will be some interest from the center, no doubt. They want to influence things in their favor, but we all must play by the rules. And we all, both the incumbent and the guys in Abuja, they need to tone the rhetoric down. We only have one state, Edo State. We don't want any bloodshed. It's not worth it for whatsoever reason. At the end of the day, you want to come into governance. So my appeal to both parties, and the PDP, the incumbent, and the APC is play by the rules. Edo State is not just a state, it's a state with very strong history. It's a proud people, a kingdom running millennia. If you come and try to impose yourself, you set the state alight. That's a fact. They can do their intelligence report. It is a dangerous thing to do. Stay away, let it run its course. 4 years is a short time. Whoever wants to come can come and try. But let it be free and fair. So if there is some kind of whimper of federal interference, I think there might be. But also on the other side, they might be playing it too much. So I would say people should take it, tone it down.
Okay.
Let the people's voice count. But generally, be warned, Edo State is a unique state. Go into history. People have not changed. If you try to meddle too much, you would get a tinderbox and things will get out of control. So tone it down, let the will of the people prevail. That would be my take
You're
on
looking
this.
at history. Are you sure the people are still resilient? You think they still have the will? Looking at the economic situation, are they not willing to just sell their votes, it go for that rubber of rice?
No. They might want to collect money. There's, say hunger brings a lot of things. But if you go into history, people hardly change. There's something about DNA of people and the pride of those people. The Benin Edo State, which is the Edoic people, they have a strong history. They don't like domineering people or dominance. Look at the history. If you try to dominate them, they will revolt against you. Even the recent political electoral history. So they are best left to their own volition. Don't try to impose your will on the Edo people. The average Edo people will bounce back like a spring. I know that. I've studied the history, you see that. So whether they're hungry or full, in their stomach is full, they are the same people. So my advice is, let the process run its course. Don't interfere. If you interfere too much, you will have a crisis. I may be wrong, but this is my view.
All right, as we round off the program today, what's your advice for Edo people as it proceeds to the polls on Saturday?
My advice for the Edo people is, people of Edo State, the time has come for change. And the change we seek doesn't reside in the halls of the big parties, the parties that we know. Because we have been in that route for the last 25 years, we can see massive transformation. If you want revolutionary leadership, transformational leadership, look elsewhere. And elsewhere to look is the African Democratic Congress. What I bring to you is hope. I would like people to understand something. That is, look out for leaders who know how and who can talk about the how. I don't care which party that person comes from, but look for the how, not just the what. People can say X, Y, Z, but if they can explain to you in very granular ways how they can transform your state, that's the person to vote for. So come out without fear or favor on Saturday and cast your vote. And for those political leaders like me, I have a message. We have one state, not two. If you think you're going to use violence to win, you are mistaken. This is Edo State. Admonish your followers, lead by example. Let it be a peaceful one that we can be proud of. Let's lead by example. Let's show Nigerians we can have a peaceful election that will be the will of the people. That will be my message to both the voters and the leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a very beautiful and engaging time with you, Osadebey Izedonmwen. And I want to thank you for coming on the show, Road to Osadebey, as well as wish you all the best in your endeavor.
Thank you kindly. That's been a pleasure. I enjoyed myself. I look forward to being here sometime.
Yes, we look forward to having you again. All right, that's it on the show.